My aunt stole our inheritance, manipulated my grandmother, and painted my dad as the failure, while we watched everything slip away. But this is the story of how I destroyed her empire. My name is James Weston, and I've been plotting this revenge since I was 12 years old. When my father died, everyone said it was because of alcohol. But that's not the full story. See, my father, David Weston, was the kindest, most generous man you could ever meet. He was a simple man, a loyal son, a quiet brother, and most importantly, a devoted father. He worked hard for our family's small construction business, built it up from scratch with my grandfather. But when Grandpa passed away, everything changed. That was when my aunt, Victoria, stepped in. She'd always been the golden child, the one my grandmother doted on. She married rich, wore expensive jewelry to family dinners, and acted like she was above all of us. My dad, he didn't care about fancy things. He just wanted what was fair. But fair wasn't what we got. Still remember the day they read the will. I was sitting in the back of the lawyer's office, swinging my feet and eating a lollipop. I didn't understand legal stuff, but I understood one thing very clearly. Everything, the house, the company, the land, the accounts, was left to Victoria. My dad sat there, stunned. He didn't even argue, just lowered his head like he'd been slapped. Grandma had changed the will just 6 months before Grandpa died. She said it was because my dad wasn't financially responsible. But you know what really happened? Victoria manipulated her, told her my dad was struggling with money, that he would sell the house, that I wasn't getting a proper education. She lied, twisted everything, and played the victim. And Grandma believed every word. But it wasn't just my dad she tried to break. It was my mom, too. Every family gathering, Victoria would make little comments, always smiling sweetly in front of Grandma. "Oh, Helen, is that thrifted again? You really should learn to cook something besides casseroles. Poor James, no piano lessons? Well, I guess you do what you can with your budget." She used her wealth like a weapon, stabbing with smiles. I remember one Christmas dinner. My mom brought homemade cookies. Everyone loved them. But Victoria took one bite and said loudly, "Well, I suppose it's the thought that counts. I'll send you my chef's recipe next time." My mother didn't say a word. She never did. But I saw her hands shaking as she packed the leftovers. And I saw my father gripping the edge of the table so hard his knuckles turned white. After that, everything spiraled. My dad lost the company. He was forced to work under Victoria's husband. They made him do the grunt work, demoted him in front of men he once trained. We lost our house, had to move into a cramped apartment. And the worst part? My dad never said a word against his sister. He still brought flowers to Grandma, still smiled at family dinners. But inside, he was breaking. And then came the bottle. He started drinking, slowly at first, then constantly. I would hear him crying at night, whispering things like, "I didn't deserve this. Dad would have wanted better." He died 2 years later. Liver failure. He was 44. Everyone said it was just bad luck. A weakness. But I knew the truth. Victoria didn't just steal our future. She destroyed my father, piece by piece. She got everything, and we were left with nothing. It was raining that morning. The sky was gray, as if even God didn't want to look down on the people gathered there. My mom wore black. A plain dress. No jewelry. Just red, swollen eyes from crying all night. She had barely slept. Barely eaten. And yet, Victoria showed up late. Dressed in an expensive black coat with fur trim, heels sinking into the wet grass. Pearls so white they almost glowed against the gray. People turned to look at her. And that's exactly what she wanted. She walked over to my mother and gave her a tight, fake hug, the kind that ends with a back pat that says, "We're done here." Then she leaned in, smiling through her teeth, and whispered just loud enough for me to hear, "You should have kept him off the bottle, Helen. Maybe then we'd be at a birthday party instead of a funeral." My mother flinched. I saw the tears well up in her eyes again, but she didn't respond. She just turned away, pressing her hands together in her lap. And I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my skin. Then Victoria walked to the front of the crowd, acting like she was the widow, not the sister. At the funeral, she had the nerve to cry, wearing pearls, giving some fake speech about family. She spoke about how my father used to brighten every room, and how his struggles don't define him. She even looked at me and said, "James, your father would be proud of you, just like we all are." And all I could think was, "You broke him. You made him a shadow of himself. And now you're using his death as your stage." That's the moment I promised myself, I'll destroy her, brick by brick, smile by smile, and I'll make her watch. After the funeral, my mom tried to visit my grandmother. She baked her a loaf of banana bread, wrapped it in foil, and asked me to carry the flowers. But when we got to the door, the maid told us Grandma wasn't feeling well, that she wasn't seeing anyone, that she needed quiet and peace. It didn't make sense. She'd just lost her son. Wouldn't she want to see us? But it kept happening. Every week, every call, every letter, unanswered. Then, one day, we found out Victoria had moved in with her. Changed the phone number. Replaced the staff. She said it was for Grandma's health and protection, but we both knew what it was. She was locking the doors before the truth could escape. A month later, we drove by Grandma's old lake cabin. It used to be the place we all went for summers, back when the family still meant something. There was a brand new lock on the gate, a fresh security sign in the yard, and a plaque by the door that said, "The Victoria Weston Family Retreat." She took everything, even the memories. She told people my father had turned his back on the family, that the pressure of the business had broken him, that he was reckless and bitter and unstable. She painted herself as the grieving sister who had done everything to hold the family together. But we knew what she was doing. She wasn't just rewriting the story. She was burying the evidence. During the cleanup of my grandmother's cabin, before Victoria locked it and claimed it as a family getaway, I had taken one small box. Just old papers, photo albums, and letters. I didn't even read it until months later. And buried at the bottom? A letter, dated 3 weeks before my grandmother died. To my sweet James, I've rewritten my will. You were right. It should have been fair. I'm sorry for the pain I've caused your father. I don't know if he'll ever forgive me, but maybe you will someday. The updated will was never filed. Victoria had gotten to her first. I didn't act immediately. No, I waited. I studied hard. Graduated top of my class. Worked in tech. Quietly made a fortune while living below my means. I never showed off, never let them know. And all the while, I tracked them. Victoria had 3 kids, Alex, Chloe, and Ryan. All spoiled, all lazy. She sent them to elite schools, paid for everything, bragged about them online. They didn't know how to work, how to survive, because they never had to. But I did. I watched their social media, studied their patterns, knew their friends, their weaknesses, their habits. And when I was 29, I made my move. First, I bought the company, quietly, through a shell corporation, the same construction company my grandfather started that my aunt's husband now ran into the ground. I walked into that office one day, dressed in a simple blazer, and said, "Hi, I'm the new owner. You're all fired." Victoria's husband turned red. He threatened legal action. Didn't matter. I had the deeds, the documents, the power. Next, I exposed Alex, her eldest, for embezzling money from his startup. Because guess what? He used my fake investment firm to launder funds. He's now banned from owning a company for 10 years. Then, I hacked Chloe's fake influencer brand, leaked her bot followers and fake sponsorship deals. She lost every brand partnership overnight. What no one knew was that Chloe also had a secret OnlyFans account. Not illegal, but not exactly charity gala friendly. The tabloids had a field day. Ryan? Well, let's just say the College Board didn't appreciate the proof of plagiarism I anonymously sent them. After the chaos, Victoria had to mortgage her mansion. Guess who bought the debt? I did. And then I sold the estate to developers who bulldozed it for luxury apartments. I walked through the ruins one day with my mom. She said, "David would have loved this view." And I nodded. And then came Victoria. I waited until she hosted a grand charity gala, her golden society moment. I sponsored the event anonymously, bought VIP tables, and invited the press. And right as she walked on stage, I played a video, clips from my father's journals. Yes, I had them. He wrote letters every night before he died, ones I never read until I was older. In those pages, he poured out his heartbreak, his betrayal, his pain, and now the world heard it. My sister stabbed me in the back, but I won't speak out, because James deserves peace, not war. There was silence. Victoria stood frozen, and I walked up the stage, took the mic, and said, "I'm James Weston, David Weston's son, and tonight, justice is served." The story exploded online. Sponsors dropped her. Society blacklisted her. Even her rich husband left her, said she was damaging to his image. She lost everything. And I didn't feel joy. Not really. But I felt peace. Because I kept my promise. I didn't just destroy her life. I made her live long enough to watch it crumble. Brick by brick. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. It's patient, strategic, and it hits hardest when they think they're untouchable. I didn't want her dead. I wanted her empty, the way she left my father. If you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.